Hey everyone and welcome or welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be going through all the books that I am hopefully going to be reading in February. So I'm going to start by saying I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit croaky in this video. I haven't been very well for the past week, so I'm still kind of getting over that, but I did want to film this video today because I think it's going to be the only opportunity that I have to actually film for a while. But I'm excited to pick some books to read in February because January has not been the best reading month. I mean, it has and it hasn't. Like, because I was ill, I have fallen a little bit behind on my January TBR. If you watched my video last month, then you will have heard me talk about my new TBR game, which is I'm a booktuber, get me out of here. I'm not going to go through the rules for this in this video because I did go through them in last month's video. I'll leave that video linked in the description if you wanted to check it out, but the rules are really simple. I basically make my way around the board and pick books as I go based on the genres and the prompts. I think I am going to start by going through how my reading went in January, or how it's gone so far, because at the time that I'm filming this it is currently the 23rd, so there's still over a week left to go of the month, which is a relief because, spoiler alert, my reading in January hasn't gone the best in terms of volume. I have enjoyed pretty much all of the books that I've read so far this month, but I still have quite a few books that I do still need to read from my TBR. So, of the books on my January TBR, I have so far read The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, which, by the way, I think is actually going to be one of my favourite books of the year, if not my favourite book of the year, which, what are the chances actually? I think Project Hail Mary was the first book that I read this year, and it could actually end up being my favourite book of the year. That does mean that there are 3 books on my TBR that I still need to read, and they are It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave, and Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I am actually planning on picking up Warbreaker this evening and starting it, so I should be able to finish this within the next week, and then hopefully I can also try and squeeze in the other 2 books, but obviously we'll see how it goes. If I do have to roll books over, then I'm not going to be annoyed at myself, because the way that I see my TBR is that it's a guide for me to pick books from rather than a list of books that I have to read. There are no punishments in this game because punishments are just not really my thing. I think that is everything that I wanted to say in this intro, so without further rambling, let's go with roll number 1. Okay, so here we go with roll number 1, which is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a challenge, and the challenge is read a small book under 300 pages. So as you will have seen, roll number 1 came up as challenge, and the challenge was to read a book that's under 300 pages, and the book that I've decided to go for is Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is a really short novella that acts as a prequel to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. So the first book I do actually have here. The first book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I am actually currently rereading this. I'm listening to the audiobook because I noticed it's available on Scribd, and I have been meaning to continue this series for quite a while. I think I read the first book in either 2019 or 2020. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a YA mystery series that follows a girl called Pippa, and she is basically investigating this crime that happened in her town around 5 years ago. So it's all part of this school project that she's working on. Basically, this teenage girl went missing, and Pippa is convinced that the person who was arrested is not actually responsible for what happened, and so you get a lot of mixed media in this, where Pippa is interviewing people in this town as she tries to uncover the truth behind what actually happened. Really loved this first book. I think I actually gave it 5 stars at the time that I read it, and I, like I said, have been really excited to continue the series. I just haven't got around to it yet, so hopefully once I've reread this first book I can then pick up Killjoy, because this is really short. I think, how many pages is it? Okay, it doesn't actually have any page numbers, but I mean it's definitely under 300 pages, so yeah, excited to finally be continuing this series. And I think this was actually sent to me by Helen, so thanks again Helen for sending this to me. Like I said, I'm so excited to finally be continuing this series. Okay, so roll number 2 is a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is Other. Roll number 2 landed on Other, and for this I've decided to go for One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. So this is a contemporary with a sci-fi twist from what I understand. This is the same author who wrote In 5 Years, which I read in 2020 and really enjoyed. I think it was one of my favourite books of 2020, although I will say that the marketing for that book wasn't great because it's often marketed as a romance and it's not really a romance. I actually have an arc of this through NetGalley and I think the release date is early March, so I do want to try and read it in February so I can obviously review it before then. I believe this is about a woman called Katie whose mom has recently passed away and she decides to travel to Italy, I guess to get away for a while, but she ends up running into her mom in Italy, but her mom when her mom was 30, so a similar age to what Katie is now, but the mom that she meets in Italy is very different to the mom that she remembers, and so it's all about her getting to know the younger version of her mom and trying to reconcile this memory that she has of her mother. Sounds really interesting and it sounds like a book that I would enjoy because it sounds very character driven, and In 5 Years it made me sob. I cried so much at that book and I'm hoping that One Italian Summer will have a similar emotional impact on me because I do love a book that can make me cry. Roll number 3 is a 1, which is a fantasy. As you will have seen, for my next roll we landed on fantasy, and for this I'm going for Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, which I'm pretty sure I need to read in February anyway because I think this is the next book in the COSMERE Unbounded read-along. Now I'm pretty sure that I do know what this book is about because I've heard a lot of people talking about it, but for some reason I'm really struggling to get words out, so I've just double checked the synopsis and I think that this book is set in this world where there's a city called Elantris, and about 10 years ago there was this curse that affected this city and there's something going wrong with the magic there. I think the main character is this princess from another city who arrives expecting to marry the prince of Elantris. However, she finds out that the prince has actually died and she's now considered his widow. Although, is the prince actually dead or has he just been affected by this curse and he's been banished to another city? I'm pretty sure my dad read this last year and really enjoyed it. I don't know if he enjoyed it as much as Mistborn. I think this might have been one of Brandon Sanderson's earlier books and I know that it's currently a standalone, so I like the idea of that. I like the idea of reading this because it's less commitment, because there's no more books in the series that I'm going to have to read afterwards. But yeah, I'm excited to read this, especially because I'm reading this as part of COSMERE Unbounded, so there's going to be a live show where we can obviously talk about it, and from experience of reading Brandon Sanderson's books, there's a lot that you can talk about with his books, so really excited. Roll number 4 is a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is romance. For roll number 4 we landed on romance, and for this I'm going for House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas, which is a fantasy romance, so I'm counting it for this prompt. I was thinking, am I cheating a little bit with this? But no, it's a fantasy romance, so I can definitely count it for romance. This is the first book in the Crescent City series, and I have actually read this book already. I read it back in, I think it was November 2020, something like that. It was over a year ago now, and I want to reread it before the second book comes out because I can remember most of what happens, but I think I'll enjoy the second book more if the first book is fresher in my mind. For anyone who doesn't know, this book follows a main character called Bryce who lives in this place called Crescent City, and there are all of these different paranormal creatures that live in this city. So Bryce is half fae, but then you also have werewolves and vampires and other creatures like that. There's also this murder mystery plot, so Bryce is recruited to investigate why people are being murdered in Crescent City, and she's assigned this bodyguard called Hunt who helps her to investigate, and because it's a fantasy romance you can probably guess what direction it starts to go in, but I did really like the first book. I think I gave it a 3.5 stars. The main reason it didn't get any higher was because it started to get a little bit cheesy towards the end, but I did really like the murder mystery and I did really like the characters, so I'm really excited to read the second book in the series when I get around to it. Obviously I need to reread the first book first. And is this going to be the final roll? It is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So roll number 5 actually ended up being the final roll of the game, and honestly I'm kind of glad that this month's TBR is going to be a little bit shorter than usual. First of all, because February is the shortest month of the year, but also, like I said earlier, I do still have quite a few books from my January TBR that I still need to read. So if I do end up rolling any books over, then I'm going to feel less pressure to rush through them, because I never like to feel like I'm rushing through my TBRs. I like to feel like I'm taking the time to enjoy them, but I'm really happy with my February TBR. I think I've got some good books on there, some chunky books, which is a little bit worrying, but hopefully I can finish my TBR early, because if I do finish all of the books on my TBR, then I would like to read Jade War by Fonda Lee, finally, because I've been putting off reading this book for months. I've been saying that I want to finish that trilogy, and I just haven't got around to it yet, and I need to stop doing that in 2022. I need to stop putting off the books that I really want to read. I mean, if I was to go through my entire own TBR, I would say that the book I'm most excited for at the moment is Jade War, so why have I not read it yet? But hopefully, fingers crossed, I will finally read it in February. But I think that's everything that I wanted to say, so thanks for watching. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books that I've talked about in this video. Let me know if there's any books that you're excited for to read in February, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye!